Greenville City Council will come to order. Call the roll, please.
Ely. Present. Godwin.
Here.
Norris.
Here.
Rogers.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
Whitaker.
Here.
Brown.
Here. I could get everyone to stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Council members, you were emailed out the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections? If so, they will be approved as emailed out. Also, you were emailed out the current financial report. I will take a motion to accept that. So moved. Moved by Mr. Brown to accept the financial report. Discussion. Call the roll.
Ely. Yes. Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. Next, approval of the agenda. There is, that I know there's no additions or corrections, so.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved by Mr. Schmidt to approve the agenda as submitted. Discussion. Call the roll.
Ely. Yes. Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Moving on to public hearing. Anyone would like to come up and speak at the podium, please keep it to under 5 minutes. Under 5. Hard it.
You got your time.
We'll give you one extra.
For 30 seconds, right? Mike Bowers with Dark County Economic Development, 537 South Broadway, Suite 201, Greenville, Ohio, in a former life formerly known as Mayor Bowser. So, thank you to the City of Greenville for your support for the Partnering for Progress initiative. With that, we put together some priorities that we're going to be working on for 2023. I've given you a copy of that for your review, and if you have any questions. But kind of right off the top, one of the main priorities that we're looking at, we've identified 3 barriers to entry for the workforce with our companies in the county. First one being housing, second, childcare, third, transportation. So housing has been a big subject, obviously, City of Greenville and in the county with different things. So as we're moving some things forward in that regard, we're going to be putting together a housing subcommittee out of my office. And what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 banks, 4 real estate representatives, and the BRC, because they've had some pretty good success in that senior housing piece and the different things that they've done. So we're going to be putting that together here in the next week and meeting. And once we get that meeting set, we're going to be looking to move forward with a housing study for all of Darke County. So by virtue of the name Darke County Economic Development, obviously, I've got to include the other communities in the county as we look at those things. I have been talking with National Land Advisory Group out of Columbus. They will help us to define the scope of what we want to accomplish with that housing study. Multifamily, single-family residents, just different layers in different areas. The other piece that we're fortunate, we may have some funding available from Montgomery County Board of Realtors that would help with the cost of that housing study. So obviously, that's a big piece of what we're looking at moving forward. Single family residents would be kind of the piece that we would look at as being the greatest piece that we would want to get into and look at. So we'll be looking at single family residents, multifamily, and kind of the whole gamut as we look at housing kind of across the full spectrum of not just here in the city of Greenville, but in Versailles even though Versailles has a couple of subdivisions working. You've got an Arcanum that's got a couple of subdivisions working. But New Madison would like to grow some housing, Gettysburg, Ansonia. And so we'll put that piece together. Then with childcare, we're going to be doing a childcare study, top 25 employers in the county, and then working with the Ohio State Extension Office, and we're going to be creating an app so that we can identify those folks that if that is truly a barrier to entry in the workforce, just by talking to all the manufacturers, we're not going to hit everybody. So we're going to get it out there to the communities through the library and through some other public media to get that done. And then with transportation, we've created a regional transportation planning organization that we do with Preble and Shelby counties. We are looking at the physical needs that we have as far as a county. So some of you may have heard there's going to be a roundabout that's going to be going in at 721 and 36 over by Bradford at some point coming up, probably 24 till that gets done. But we're looking at different things around the county that would need to be that. And from the physical standpoint, then we also want to look at the programming that's out there. Obviously, Greenville Transit has come under the city, so we want to try to work with some things with the city to see how we can create better transportation to get workers to some of our manufacturing concerns. So with that, there's some other things, but I have given you a little bit of an assignment because we are doing some community development pieces and with some downtown development items in there as well with our communities. We've got a 3, 5, and 10-year questionnaire. So what I would like, and I'm doing this with all the communities in the county, I would like you to just take a gander at that. Think about what you would like the city of Greenville to look like in that 3, 5, and 10-year window. So we can either leave it one of two ways. You can either get it back to me and I'll compile the information, or I'll volunteer Ryan. You can get him to Ryan and Ryan can compile. No, I wouldn't do that to you. Ryan can be your point of contact to get get those questionnaires back to him, and then I'll pick them up from Ryan, and then we'll compile that information. And again, that's what we're doing with all the communities in the county to get everybody thinking 3, 5, and 10 years down the road, so that we can work better to plan and do things as a county and move the county forward.
When would you like those back?
By next month, if possible.
Okay.
So. And then we are working on a countywide land use map. We're working on that with the county commissioners. Looks like we're going to be doing that with Ohio State University. We're going to be meeting with them in the next week to finalize what that looks like. And that'll be done sometime in 23. So with that's all I've got. I think I've kept it under 5 minutes. So if you have any questions of me.
So any questions to Mike?
Okay, one final thing. Congratulations to City of Greenville and / Dark County as a micropolitan with Site Selection Magazine, tied for 5th. 9 projects accepted by Site Selection Magazine, and qualifying pieces for those submissions were $1 million in CapEx, an additional 20,000 square foot, or an additional 20 employees qualified as that. So through 22, we had we submitted 13 projects, 9 got accepted by Site Selection Magazine, took us to 5th place in the country. So not just the state of Ohio, but in the country.
Very nice.
So
Nice.
that's all I got.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Almost.
Almost.
Mine's just going to be short. Again, I come up here on other people. Oh, my name's Janet Dieter. I live at 303 East Harmon. First of all, last week, Ms. Ely commented about CAP in giving of the clothes, they also take other items. I have given and given to that organization, that building out there, so I encourage others to do that. You have garage sale stuff left over, they will take it, they will sell it at a very low cost, and you can't even imagine what's all in there. The mini mall downtown, I've talked to that lady, and she's doing very well. As soon as one vendor moves out, another one moves in. She's very pleased. I was excited to see that the theater is coming along. They were working outside the other day, and people are commenting, when's it going to open? So I'm carrying that forward. But at church on Sunday, my neighbor lady, and I am concerned too, these booms we are hearing. She heard another one last week. I've heard 4 so far. Now on the news, it said it was a meteorite there in Arcanum. But what's causing the booms here in town? Does anybody have any idea? I have a scanner, and one cop said it was a car backfiring. Well, it was heard all over Greenville when it happened, so I don't know how a car backfiring could have done that. But I thought it was a transformer, but nobody seems to know. And so this one lady that shared with me, she's getting a little concerned. Why are we having them so often and no one seems to know what's going on? So I'm bringing that concern because I said I'd try to find out. So that's
I know on your comment about the booms,
What's that again?
the radio station said something the other day about those windmills over in Union City. They took them down.
But we're not taking those down, so.
No,
Yeah.
in Union City,
Right,
Indiana.
I know, yes.
And they could hear them over here.
But they just did that, but I've heard of 4 already. And
Well, this was 2, and it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I think the other one was at 10.
No, this
They
was at
they
9.
blew the base up to bring them down.
Okay, I'll tell her that.
So that was 2 of them. That was this week.
Oh, this has been for about the last month.
Well, this was this week.
This transformer.
One thing that I've heard too is because of the temperatures up and down and so forth, they call them frost quakes. I've heard that too, so I don't know whether that's the answer or
A
not.
meteorite that they had in Arkansas. So they said.
All right, any other questions, comments on the booms? Okay,
Hi, Greg Doan, Executive Director of the Dark County Visitors Bureau, 421 South Broadway. Just wanted to give you an update on some things we have going on. So as part of the Visitors Bureau's mission to represent all of Dark County and get out into the county, we've been doing satellite workspaces in different towns, villages. Currently, I've been working in Arcanum, in Sonia, obviously Greenville for sales, and we're adding Bradford. We're looking to add a couple more as we can find space, as they want to host us. So that's been successful. Just trying to meet with businesses, looking to expand that, meet with maybe Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, whoever wants to meet with us. So just as part of our outreach, that's been going well. Kind of in relation to that, on March 22nd at Shawnee Prairie, the Dark County Visitors Bureau is holding a mixer. Invitation have gone out to attractions, events, festivals, fairs, elected officials. We invited Mayor Roman, Brian Brown is our board representative. Just trying to get everybody into one room, just kind of get to know each other. How can we work together? Are there ways that we can better promote festivals and events? Are there ways that we can cross-promote? So we're looking forward to having that event on March 22nd at Shawnee Prairie.
What time?
5 to 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Yes, and we're adding the popular whiskey, wine, and ale trail. We're going to add 2 stops to that here in the near future. Hainer Whiskey in Troy has wanted to be on the stop. They don't have a place to stop in and drink their whiskey. They just sell it. So they've developed a special whiskey for Hotel Versailles. So we're going to sell that out of Hotel Versailles. So that'll be a stop. And the Alchemy Lounge just down the street here with their vodkas, they are going to be on the trail as well. And continue to help April Brubaker as she transitions to Executive Director of Main Street Greenville, just answering her questions and helping her out. Yeah.
May I
Any
ask,
questions? Yes.
may I ask, on your satellite offices that you're opening,
Yes.
do you have a set schedule that you appear at those satellite locations, and is that posted on a website or anything?
So currently it's we're doing 1 day a month. I'd like to expand that to at least 2 days a month. So I'm letting those communities know, their officials know, so they're putting that on Facebook when I'll be there.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, so if we can find a better way to notify people, that's fine too.
All right.
So it's kind of important for us to know that you're going to have a very strong presence in Greenville.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we're still at the Welcome Center. I mean, most of the time I'll be working out of the Welcome Center. But for a few of those days, yeah, I'll be out in the county as well.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Visitors Bureau? Greg, appreciate you coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public hearing? If not, we will move on to administration report. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. I got a couple things. I was kind of interestingly, I've been started working on our donations for fireworks, and had the opportunity, Ryan went down to see the interim president for Greenville Federal Bank, and had an interesting conversation, and just to let you know, it was a great guy. I really kind of hope they maybe hire him permanently. One of the things that got done is that, I don't know if anybody knows Millie Moat. They asked me to do a certificate of appreciation. She was 100 years old here just recently, and it's kind of a unique story, and that's one of the reasons I did do it. But they're our friends. But then she was working in a munitions factory in England when she met Muddy, they call him at the time, and as a GI, and brought her home. And then she started a small organization in town to for other wives that left their families and home and came to the United States here in Greenville to try to keep people from getting homesick, and just so they have some contact with other people. And she was just a great woman to be around the area, and it was just fun to be there to wish her happy birthday. So it's pretty cool. She was up dancing with the grandkids all night, so it was like a pretty neat lady. So just to talk about what Jana kind of brought it up, that I did see Mike Jones the other day, and there's a little bit of delay in the theater. It's coming along fine. It's just taking more time because it's hard to get parts. Different things, get contractors, that type of thing. The one thing that's going to wait on is we was hoping to be in the spring, but it's going to be probably this fall because the projector is back ordered. So he hopes that it's going to be coming in later this fall, and then that it should be pretty close. So we're certainly looking forward to that. Doing some work on the outside, so the building's starting to look a little better. They did put some new doors in, so it was pretty nice. He's done a tremendous amount of work, and I've talked about it before, but it just one little highlight is this. He worked at the State Theater, and then when it was torn down, he just didn't have the means to do it. And he said he'd never, he won't let the Lane Theater be torn down and not, bring it back. And said, now I can do it. He said, I always enjoyed it. He said one of the things in his youth that growing up that he always thought it was the greatest thing to be able to get tickets from the merchants back in the day, or go to a $1 matinee on Saturday afternoon. And he said, I'm going to bring that back. So that's a pretty cool thing. So, and one other thing, I kind of appreciate the work that we've been doing with Larry Holmes, the commissioner, and trying to broaden transportation. And so we haven't heard anything yet, but we're hoping that the county helps us out, and so we can bring back some of the transportation that some of the elderly and like for people to bring home some of their doctor visits can go into Dayton and that type of thing. So we're always looking for ways to expand transportation, and we're hoping that they join in with us and do that. So we have a little work to do yet, but we'll let you know. Other than that, I'll pass. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Safety Service Director, Mr. Delk.
Thank you, Mr. President. Some updates for this evening. First one is our sidewalk program. I'll have something to present to council at our next council meeting, kind of laying everything out of where we are and costs associated with it and where we want to go from here. And then we're also going to lay out the next 10 years so we know where we're headed. So I'll have that to present to council next meeting. Our Yolo Park restrooms, as I mentioned last time, we didn't receive any bids. So now the new plan is we're going to try to source the materials ourselves and hire subs and kind of be the general contractor on it to keep the cost down. The cost of turnkey was just way over budget and we weren't going to be able to afford it. So what that's going to do is push the timeline back. So now we're looking at a start date of after Labor Day and then with an open in spring of 2024. So I'll keep everyone up to date on my progress as we go along there. North Ohio is on target to start at the end of this month. So that road construction will start. 502 water main line, we've been getting parts and pieces in out of the plant, and that's scheduled to start late August into September. Our solids handling pilot program is underway, so we have that going down at the wastewater plant, and we're getting ready to start a pilot program for the Jaysville lift station. That way we have room for expansion out in our industrial park to be able to handle the wastewater with any new business that would come to town. Working on paving for 2023. We had a civil service test for ECOs last week. We just got our list back today. So Chief has 12 people to pick from to hire ECO. So that's good news. We have a civil service test Thursday night this week for our wastewater department. I think at last count we had 11 there that are going to take the test. And then we'll have another one coming up in April for patrol officers for civil service testing. And then next week, the mayor and I will be, along with a lot of other members of the community, so we're going to start planning our nation's 250th anniversary that's going to take place in 2026. But the planning is going to start now, so it's going to be a big deal. And then just, as the summer goes, we've just been getting all sorts of event packets. The city's going to be a booming place this spring, summer with downtown events and park events and runs and 4th of July's and First Fridays and concerts at Yolo Park and municipal band concerts. So a lot to do in the city here in the months to come. So excited about that. And I will answer any questions. With that, I'll pass.
Mr. Delk, the Yolo bathrooms, so that funding, I know that was a grant, that will be okay to stretch that out into?
Yes, we have until June 30th, I think, of 2024.
Okay.
Ryan, I've been getting a lot of questions about the old Gade nursing home on Chestnut Street. What's going on there? Is anything happening or?
Depends which day it is. The last that I heard, the person that was opening it had bought a few others, and they put their attention on those to get them up and running, and then we're going to come back and work on ours and get it open.
What's the end result supposed to be?
Like senior living, assisted living facility.
Okay, thank you.
And then one more thing. I've had a couple residents reach out to me about trains coming through town, the safety. I know we have the assistant and the chief.
So I actually talked to the chief about it. We're going to come up. So assistant chief is not the hazmat coordinator. It's one of our captains.
Okay.
So we're going to put together something for next meeting.
Okay. So just for the community to know, we've got a contingency plan, a plan if something did happen with the rails cars coming through town. And then also Greenville County Hazmat has a team for the whole county. So I just wanted to rest assure some citizens that, are concerned. There's been several derailments throughout the state and other places. So that was a little bit of a concern. So next meeting then, or?
Yeah, next meeting,
Okay.
we'll have
Great.
someone here, either chief or the captain. So we have a captain that's a chairman of the Dark County hazmat team. So he'll be able to fill us in a little more, because a train derailment pretty much automatically initiates a hazmat spill, and then there's a plan there, but I don't want to sit here and tell you something that's not completely accurate, so we'll let him do it. And over
The trains running through Greenville, they run fairly slow, don't they, in town?
Slow mile per, absolutely. So Greenville, it really, I mean, it's always a concern, but it's not a huge concern. But Union City and Sonia Versailles is still in our county, still in our watershed. Our hazmat team would be dispatched to it. Our fire department would be helping with that. So we have a county, a lot of agencies that would have to work together on something like that.
I know Union City, they fly through there.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Delk? All right, move on to Law Director, Mr. Reaman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just want to touch on the two zoning recommendations from planning and zoning to kind of provide some context and background on that. Both of those zoning recommendations will get set for public hearings 30 days out, and then at that time, council can act on the recommendations. Both of them are to deal with kind of current issues that we found in the city. The first zoning recommendation to add transient housing may sound a little worse than what it is. The reality is it's to add transient housing, which most people know as like an Airbnb or VRBO, as a conditional use, which would mean that planning and zoning could allow it with notice to the neighbors and a hearing and put conditions upon it. We found out that we do have multiple Airbnbs that are currently active within the community. We're not aware of any issues per se with them, but once we knew that there was an issue, it was just kind of to clean up the zoning code so that everybody's kind of on the same page. So after discussion, planning and zoning thought that under conditional uses, they could be allowed, but again, hold a public hearing, make sure everybody's on the same page and go forward. Likewise, the second recommendation is just to clean up some of the fencing regulations that we have. We didn't previously have a great definition of what decorative fencings were, and that's the fence that you would be allowed to have in your front yard. Also, we realized that we had a lot of issues with side or corner lots have two frontages, and a lot of people are having to pay $100 for a variance to come in and get a rubber stamp that, yep, your fence. And so it modifies that provision as well to provide some discretion to our zoning enforcement officers to work through that. So we don't, if you live on a corner lot, you don't have to pay $100 is kind of our hope. So those are those two recommendations that come before you. Again, we'll set them for a public hearing, and then at that time we can choose to act or not.
Thank you.
With that, I'll take any questions anyone has.
All right, thank you, Mr. Law Director. City Auditor, Mrs. Swellman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. First of all, I would like to ask the council to vote for Sam Suter to renew his seat on the Tax Review Board.
And he's currently on the Tax Review Board now. This is just a reappointment.
Right,
So,
for another 2-year period.
yep, so we would just need a motion.
So moved.
Moved to reelect or reappoint Sam Suter as the Tax Board. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Neely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
North,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Is that all you got then?
One more item. I'd like to request a Finance Committee assignment to review another community fund request.
Okay, what is, you want to?
I would like to have it so that they could get the funding by the first part of April.
So that's what, would we have it back by the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. And Finance Committee is you, Jeff, and,
Yeah.
okay, everybody good? So you're set the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. Thank you very much, and I'll pass.
okay. Thank you. Okay, that completes the administration reports. Moving on to committee reports.
Mr. Council President, would like to request an extension for that. We have a follow-up meeting on the 15th.
So when can you have it back, you're thinking?
Probably the first meeting in April.
Okay, I'll grant that.
Thank you.
4-4. All right, moving on to ordinance and resolutions. First, we have a supplemental ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. This supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the General Fund and Waterworks System Revenue Fund in the sum as follows. County Health Services, elected auditor and treasurer in the amount of $3,000. These funds are needed due to an increase in annual operational expenses for the Health Department. Community Events Council in the amount of $3,500. These funds are needed to cover increased community event expenses for 2023. Community Funds Council in the amount of $23,830.93. These funds are needed to cover community fund expenses for 2023. Refunds Water Department in the amount of $3,250. These funds are needed for an overpayment of a water bill.
Move to suspend the rules and give this ordinance second and third reading by title only.
It's been moved to suspend this ordinance, give it second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023.
Move to adopt. Moved by Mr. Whitaker to adopt the ordinance. Discussion? Call the roll.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 2, resolution waiving tax assessments for 311 Short Street.
A resolution waiving the tax assessments for 311 Short Street. This resolution waives the tax assessment fees in the amount of $4,485.89 for the property located at 311 Short Street.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
It's been moved by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules of this resolution, second, third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
A resolution waiving the tax assessments for 311 Short Street. A resolution waiving the tax assessments for 311 Short Street.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt a resolution. Discussion?
What, like, what's the?
So the story on that, if you recall, 311 Short Street is a property we had significant problems with. The city crews were there on multiple occasions cleaning up the property. There is a lag because we clean up the property, the fees for cleaning up the property, not only can we recover them from the individual, but we can also assess them to the property. There's a lag between those fees getting assessed and the property transferring sometimes, and that's what happened. We got a new owner of this property that bought it through the sheriff's sale. These fees, although billed, hadn't been assessed. Under normal circumstances, they would have been wiped away through the sheriff's sale. But because of that lag, they just now hit the tax records, even though there's the new owner there. And so this kind of cleans it up. We're still able to go after these fees from the original property owner, but given that the new owners cleaned up the property, adding these charges to it just didn't seem right. And so we're coming to you asking to waive them.
Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to the final, it's resolution authorizing DC commissioners for software.
A resolution authorizing entry into an agreement with the Dark County Commissioners regarding Flex Software and Command Central System. This resolution authorizes the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Dark County Commissioners to share use of the Flex Software and Command Central System for the benefit of emergency services.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution second and third reading by title only.
Been moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Ely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
A resolution authorizing entry into an agreement with the Dark County Commissioners regarding Flex Software and Command Central System. A resolution authorizing entry into an agreement with the Dark County Commissioners regarding Flex Software and Command Central System.
Move to adopt.
Let's see, we have this, I got emergency clause, right?
No.
Doesn't, okay, emergency service, okay. Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll?
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
All right, that completes the ordinances and resolutions. Moving on to new business. Yeah, okay.
To City Council, I have reviewed the application for special parking for handicapped person submitted by Douglas Littman at 237 East 3rd Street. I have concluded there is a need for special parking in front of 237 East 3rd Street, and a sign should be erected. Sincerely, Chief Eric Roberts.
Do we need a motion on that or just blessing?
Just a motion to approve.
Okay,
So moved.
so moved. Call the roll?
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have County Fire Training Facility presentation. So I think the chief's coming up to talk, right?
Take about 40 minutes.
40 minutes?
40 minutes.
Russ can't talk that
Slipping.
long.
It used to be 30 minutes.
Russ can't talk that
Takes a
long.
little longer.
You got 5 minutes.
Russ is gonna have to entertain us during that time.
I can switch the slides. Yep. That sounds like a plan. See if we can work together.
Well, good evening, everybody. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to familiarize everyone with what the Darke County Fire Chiefs launched last week, which was the Chiefs campaign to start receiving donations for a countywide live fire training facility. So I'm not gonna, because of time and I'm trying to familiarize you, I'm gonna try and condense this at 5 to 10 minutes by PowerPoint and get through this without trying to just educate you completely. It'd take too long. Okay, so again, the Chiefs campaign, it stands for Communities Helping Improve Education as a Fire Service. We've been working on this for the last couple of years. To get to where we are today, we actually launched this on social media last week. And now we're trying to get the word out to our elected officials and continue pushing what we're trying to accomplish here in Darke County. A little bit about Darke County Association of Fire Chiefs. We were formed in 1984, and without reading that slide, to summarize it, is basically to create an atmosphere of camaraderie amongst all the fire departments in the county, better teamwork, identify common goals and objectives, and work together to go to it. That was the primary purpose back in the day when it started. Currently, there are 21 member departments in the association. We serve all of Darke County and portions of Mercer, Miami, Preble, and Shelby counties. It's been reported that collectively we have 465 firefighting personnel, and we serve a total population of about 95,000. And that's just a list of all the departments that are in the association. In 2021, the association became a nonprofit 501c3 public charity for purposes of providing training and education to the county's fire service. This included the operation and maintenance of a county training facility. So why do we want one? We don't acquire and burn structures like we used to. The days of being contacted by somebody who wants to burn their house down because it's no longer livable and they want to build a new one, we just don't get to do that as often as we did 20 years ago. There's a host of reasons. Primarily, we got stricter regulations from the EPA and RAPCA. It's a more stringent process to get a training permit. The homeowner has the financial restraints of getting that house ready to meet those standards so that we can actually go and train it and burn it down when we're done. There's logistical challenges. Anytime a department does that, we have to have X amount of personnel on that scene doing various activities to make sure it's a safe scene under NFPA standards. So it does take multiple departments across the county to participate in one department's training to make it safe for everyone. And we also have uncontrollable environment because of the fact, if you think about this, the owners, once their house burned down for a reason, they can't live in it no more. And yet we're gonna go in and we're gonna train in this unsafe structure, knowing that, with intentions of burning it down, rather than tearing it down when we're done with it, which presents a safety issue. All this, the safety issues when we're burning them. We're just gonna skip that slide. I'm not gonna read it. So here's a mock-up done by Cruella Fire. It's an Ohio-based company that does these training facilities fabricated from shipping containers. There's other companies that we've talked with. There's other options when we go to bid out. Who knows who would actually build it, but Cruella's been extremely helpful in getting us to this point. So this is just a mock-up. The colors don't even mean anything. Again, this was shown for demonstration purposes. I have other demonstrations where it's red. So, but it gives you an idea of what it would look like when we're completed. The facilities, again, is a live fire training facilities fabricated for new shipping containers. Estimated cost is $750,000. This does not include the additional infrastructure cost. It's composed of a total of 6 40-foot containers and 6 20-foot containers. The 4 20-footers are for the training tower. 6 40-foot containers and the 2 other 20 containers represent a 2-story residential structure with a 2-car attached garage. In total, there's over 4,300 square feet of training area. It also has the capability for its live fire capability. 2 of the rooms have been designed for Class B, which would be propane or natural gas. And then the other room would be Class A, which is your ordinary combustibles like wood and straw. Add a note, because this just came up. $750,000 sounds like a lot. It is a lot of money. However, if we were to build a new structure, a fixed structure out of steel frame, metal block, which is typical of a fixed structure, it'd be twice as much money.
And that, chief, that'd be similar to what we see along I-70.
That's a really old one, but yes, the decommissioned one, Inglewoods. If you want to see a really big complex built out of that, go to the Ohio State Fire Academy, or go to Clark State. They also have one at Clark State University for their fire program. So we thought this was a cost-effective alternative to a fixed structure. So the next slide just gives you a basic floor plan of that residential training area and the garage. The next one would be a floor plan for the second level. So Dark County Fire Chiefs, we have a revenue stream. We can maintain and operate such a facility, but we do not have the capital to build it. That's what started this whole concept of the Chiefs campaign. So we are asking for everyone that can to invest in this project. It can be in the form of money, which is the one that makes the most sense. However, we realize that there are other ways people can donate or companies can donate. That could be in the form of labor or materials and whatnot for the infrastructure or actually setting the containers. So there's various ways that our communities can invest. It does not have to be just cash donation. The site location is, some of you, I believe, are aware, is land provided by the city of Greenville. It was selected, one of the primary reasons it's selected is because Greenville is a central location to all Dark County, so it just makes sense to try and put it here in the middle so everybody can travel to the middle of the train. So the current location is about 3.8 acre parcel. It's valued at about $220,000. It sits on Kitchener Way, just north of Greenville Transit, and provides a central location in respect of the county. We have been asked, and we will advise, and it's the same thing we talked about in those committee assignments when we were looking at this. At the time, if we raise the funds and this becomes reality, at the time we will decide if we can find maybe a better location or a more suitable location. But right now, the only option we have is this one here that we entertained a year ago. There's a host of reasons for the values of our training. There's a list of them. as you can see, but it contributes to a continuation of effective fire service. It's a potential to reduce injuries and deaths of civilians and firefighters, reduces lost times, injuries, and compensation claims, reducing property damage, reducing property loss and business interruption resulting from fire, and I could go on all the way to the bottom of improving insurance ratings for some of the fire departments that actually use this for training. So there are potential benefits to this facility for those who are donating to it. So we're asking people to donate now. We've come up with sponsorship levels that are listed on that form from the fire commissioner at the top for major donors of $150,000 plus, down to the recruit sponsorship at the bottom of that scale for those that donate at least $1. For those individuals or groups, companies or whatnot, that donate $1,000 or more, whether that's in the form of money or the cost of their labor and equipment at the time of construction, they'll be recognized on a sponsorship sign and billboard according to that donation level. That design and location is to be determined once the project is completed. We do not have that done. So it's going to be some sort of a billboard or a monument somewhere on the grounds of the facility. So anyone who would like to contribute to the Chiefs campaign, that provides the address. They can write a check to the Darke County Fire Chiefs Association. We ask that you put Chiefs campaign on the memo line and email to Darke County Association of Fire Chiefs at that address on Burkett Road. That happens to be, for anyone that's wondering why that's a resident, that happens to be the Secretary Treasurer's residence for the Darke County Fire Chiefs, and that is the official address of the association at this time. You can also donate at any Greenville National Bank location. We somewhat partnered with them because of how many branches they have across this county. So anyone can go into a Greenville National Bank location and advise that they're there to make a donation to this project, and they'll take it from there. And they'll make that deposit directly, record the information that we need to maintain the sponsorship level information unless they want to be anonymous. And we can proceed there as those donations are made through them. We also have a website we created at www.darkecountyfirechiefs.org. Anybody can go to that website. There's an about section that talks about the facility. There's a link to this PowerPoint presentation that they can view themselves, and all the contact information, how to donate, and whatnot. And then there's talks more about how people can, the various ways that people can make donations is also available in there. And then we've also, for, I lost my word. We also created two platforms. The PayPal Giving Fund, which is associated with PayPal, is a giving fund is for nonprofits. So we went through that process of applying as a nonprofit. We were able to achieve that. And so we are a giving fund on PayPal, which means anyone who donates to the PayPal Giving Fund, PayPal does not charge us a transaction fee for that donation. We get 100% of those donations. Now, the con to that platform is that it prompts you to log into your PayPal account, and if you don't have one, create one. So we thought that was a deterrent for some people who don't have a PayPal account. So we also went with a GoFundMe platform that a lot of people are familiar with. They're actually partners with PayPal Giving Fund, so it all winds up at PayPal in our business account and gets transferred to our savings account for Darke County Fire Chiefs. It gives you the option of just paying by a debit card or Visa or a credit card without setting up a PayPal account. Now, the con to that is we get charged a small transaction fee for every transaction, so we don't get 100%. It's a reduced rate than what most people get since we're a nonprofit. And then lastly, if anyone has questions out there about the project or what we're trying to accomplish or how to donate or anything, there's my contact information on the campaign chair for the Darke County Fire Chiefs on this, and then there's also Chief Pearson, the chief of Versailles Fire Department. He's the campaign vice chair, and it's got his information. And of course, anybody who wants to do a presentation in their community or wants one for a large group or whatever, they can contact their local fire chief, and he can get that set up, or they do it, or somebody from the association comes and does it in their place. I'll take any questions if you have. That was a really quick presentation just to familiarize yourself for time.
That presentation you just did, the PowerPoint, you said that's on your website, the firechiefs.org?
Yes, sir. There's a link on our website that'll take you to the PowerPoint.
Okay, good.
You can watch it in depth.
Russ, I know at one time we talked about possibly doing some type of a grant for this. There was some stuff out there. Have we checked into, I know it's a matching grant.
So everything that we've got, so where we at with the grants is that there's nothing for us at the federal level. The federal FEMA's AFG, which is Assistance to Firefighting Grant, is the primary federal source for firefighter grants across the country. Unfortunately, although they give out a lot of money, they do not do fire stations, and they will not do fixed training facilities. And even though this is fabricated from containers, nobody is, everyone we talked to said you won't be able to get a grant. It's got to be on wheels. It's got to be mobile, which is not our goal. Right. As far as the state, it's not a matching grant. What we can do, we explored this 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, is we can apply, well, we do it to the association, or we partner with the city and use the city as our sponsor. We can put a project together for the state capital plan. And that will be coming up in about November, December. We'll have to start thinking about that for the next 2-year cycle. It's political to some degree because you got to get your legislators on board. It's competitive because everyone across the state is bombarding their legislators that their projects are more important. The problem that we had 2 years ago is that all we had at that time was a commitment from the city for the land. And even though it has a significant value, that's all we had. And that wasn't enough to get our state legislatures on board to push that through. It wasn't enough. So if we fall short in our campaign to get what we need come November, then we may be able to see where we're at and what do we need, and possibly submit a project to the state of Ohio to see if we can get on their capital for the next cycle.
So your end goal to raise that 750,000, when is that? When would you like to have this done?
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
What's your goal to have this money raised? What would you?
I guess the goal to be able to get to the state would be probably November. We at least need to see where we're at. We really have no set goal. We don't know if we can accomplish this in a year, if it's going to take 4 or 5 years. There's some mentality. Here, I'll put some perspective. There's almost 95,000 people in this combined jurisdiction. If every person would give $10, we'd have $950,000. But it's not that simple. But it could be. And we also have, we believe, we'll see, it's in its infancy stage, that we're going to get some major sponsors from the communities across this county, whether it's major manufacturing or businesses or maybe even a private donor. There'll be some significant donations that will support this project. And we're hoping that the residents will offset some of those shortages by, like I said, a small donation of $10 will make a difference when you look at the scheme of our total population. It could be that simple.
Okay. Any other questions for?
Russ, I had a question today. Somebody saw that on Facebook, and they had a question about the new containers versus getting a hold of used ones, but I mean, it's availability, right?
So I just answered that gentleman's,
Did you?
yeah, probably a half hour ago or an hour before the council meeting. I finally got to that one. Yeah, the major manufacturers, at least the reputable companies, most of these are, they're building with new because of quality control.
Right.
Now, there is an option, they call them one-use containers or one-ship containers. It's actually a used container, but it's literally been one time. It's served a specific purpose. Its purpose is over and it's available. It's the availability of them. And the cost, there is a cost savings of that. But as far as using an old beat-up one that's been been in use for 20 years, they're just quality control. And they're trying to meet NFPA standards and make them safe. There's fabrication involved. There's structural engineering involved to meet that standard. Otherwise, there's a liability issue when it fails. So that's why these are so expensive. Anytime you tie NFPA to something, the cost drives up. It's just the way it works. It's why fire trucks are the way they are, and SCBA's is to meet standards that, even though they're not laws, they are the industry standard of this country. So huge liability when we don't follow them, but it drives costs.
I'm glad he got it to you.
But yeah, I answered him tonight.
Thanks.
I have a question on how long that company that you was talking to, how long do they expect that container to last? I mean, with the fire inside and metal and.
So we've been told by several manufacturers that are using the containers that we can get anywhere from 20 to 25 years. That's like the average. It's on us, how well we maintain it, take care of it, control our temperatures, gives us longer life. But when you compare it to a fixed building, it's the same, 20, 25 years. Again, depending on how well you abuse it when you're burning in it. So, yeah, I'm confident if we take care of it, we'll get at least 20, 25 years.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I would just wanted to say, your campaign to raise the money. I think your idea of the corporate sponsors is a great one, but I like the idea of appealing to the public. We who benefit from your services and talents. I know, when you say $10, well, $10 is almost one trip to McDonald's. So if you give up, if you put it out there to people in a way that,
Right.
they use it. I did a campaign to build wells in Africa one time, and it was nearly the cost of going at that time, and I realize it's sometime in the past. It was merely giving up a sandwich a week. I went and I gave up my Big Macs so that I could help drill a well. Now, I know that sounds silly, but those are I'm the type of person that makes sense to me. If I can just give something small and everything that's added, you'd be surprised if you save pennies, how much they add up. So thank you for that, including that too. That's wonderful.
I think pointing out the $10 makes a difference. I think is huge because I think you can potentially even drive that through a fundraiser, like through schools. Like kids can get involved for $10. Like they can, like they understand that math. They don't understand 750,000. So,
I mean, I would be willing to step out tonight and tell you that I know a group of probably 15 people that they probably couldn't give 10, but we could make a contribution by all of us working together and make a donation. I would be.
And there's other ways of doing, to piggyback your idea a little bit. You get one person that can give $10, your whatever that bottom level is, a recruit or whatever we called it. You gave that $10, and I know you did, and that's where it stops. But you take enough people to give $10 as a group, and you can raise $1,000, call yourself something, and write the check that way. Now you're a sponsor at the the lieutenant level, and you're actually recognized on a board that's permanent because you got together as a group and come up with that idea.
Yeah, if you look at those 21 fire departments, there's a lot of equipment bought there from bake sales.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
This can be done.
And chicken dinners. And chicken dinners, yep.
And we're very optimistic. I know it's early, we just started last week, but we were optimistic when we started it, and we still are. That when you put it in perspective, like what we're talking about tonight, it doesn't sound that hard to raise $1 million, which is really what we're looking at, considering infrastructure and stuff. And it sounds like a big number, but when you start, for lack of better terms, dumbing it down a little bit, if everybody would contribute and get on board, it's really not that hard to do.
Yeah.
We just need everybody to come together.
Sort of like the adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Just putting it out there. Thank you for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Russ.
Any other questions? All right.
All right, thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
What else we have here under old business? Is that it?
We have to do the zoning amendment.
The zoning, okay, yeah, the zoning amendment recommendation. You want to read that, or?
Oh, no, this is the old one.
That's the one that's been in layover, right? Okay. So this recommendation is the one that we've been, it's kind of a stalemate, so we leave it there, we make another motion to approve or reject it, and go on, right?
That's the answer.
So
Make a motion to approve it.
it's moved by Mr. Godwin to approve the recommendations from planning and zoning. Discussion.
So just a couple things. I think some of it, we focused a lot on low income. I don't think it's a low-income issue. I think it's a senior housing issue. But moreover, I think it's a land use issue. I don't really think it has anything to do with that there. How long are we going to let it lay empty? How long has it been empty? Collecting minimal on it versus what we could collect on it. I know one question was, what's the CIC up to? What are they looking at doing? And I know it hasn't made its way to our desk yet, but there is a spec building coming down the road, from the CIC that's to be built. Mike, what was the size of that?
36,000 square foot.
Yeah, going up on KitchenAid, right?
Yeah,
Is that the intended?
Beaky property right there between Koenig and the distribution center for KitchenAid.
Yeah. So we are, the CIC is, looking for things. And so, I think from that point, and one of the other things, I know we had said, probably not much income tax, but if we look at, you have 55-year-old is the minimum to live there. To Clarence's point, he's over 55 and still working. And so there certainly would be some income tax. And lastly, I just say, we want young people to move into town. We want them to buy single properties, right? Like that's the goal. At the end of the day, if they're not like Dolores and they don't want to go out of their house feet first at the end of their life, we got to have somewhere for them to go. If we're not willing to take care of them when they get older, why would they move here in the first place? So last I would say to that, at least for this week.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to go back to the fact of Mike's report tonight, that a conversation with one or two people can promote action. So I think, given his report, given what they're planning to do, I think we still need to take that into consideration.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that, what Brian brought up at the last meeting that we talked about, there's 42 apartments and there's going to be an office complex there too. So that's going to be 43 new water hookups. That's going to be 43 new sewer hookups. It's going to be 43 new people for the city of Greenville that we're going to collect water and sewer from every month. And, like Brian said, these people will be still 55. They're still going to be working and they're still going to be paying taxes. And, I'm not giving up on this. Everybody can still vote no, or they can vote yes or whatever and get on board with us, but, that's all I have to say.
I'll say to the point that you say there's 43 people, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be 43 new citizens. I think we talked at one point about, if you could move into a brand new facility, what are you leaving behind? You're leaving something behind. So it's really, I could say to that point, I can say maybe it's 43, maybe it's not. But I've said enough. Thank you.
But anybody that, moves into that and they move out of their house, that's going to create an income for anybody that's wanting to upgrade their house, that's got the gold, bathroom, or they've got the yellow bathroom, or got a kitchen that's outdated. And the person that moves into this facility, they're going to go to Lowe's and they're going to shop and buy the vanities and they're going to buy that stuff and upgrade it, when this person sells their house. So, and that'll get the younger people to stay here, hopefully.
Further discussion? Call the roll.
Ely,
No.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
No.
Rogers,
No.
Schmidt,
No.
Whitaker,
No.
Brown.
Yes.
All right, we are at a stalemate again. Moving on. Council representing outside committee, Council on Aging.
I think it's kind of appropriate that I get to report on Council on Aging tonight, since I'm planning to go out feet first. I might need these people's services. The Council on Aging, it's part of a group out of Dayton, a larger part. We belong to a 9-county group, but our area is the Tri-County Council on Aging. And I have here a contact person, and if people in your community, your family, your friends who have questions about the Council on Aging, you can reach out to them. And I know they have a meeting coming up in May, and as a senior citizen and a representative from the council, I plan to attend that and see what's going on in the future. I know they're still working on trying to develop a senior citizen center, so I'm just going to pass this down to the secretary and she can include it for contact purposes. And you just go to their website and you can find all kinds of services that they have. So thank you.
Thank you, Dolores. You always do a great job reporting on that. Thank you. Communications.
Members of council, at the February 21st, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the topic of transient housing was discussed. New additions to the current zoning regulations were presented by Law Director Riemann. This was discussed during several regular sessions, and members unanimously approved a motion to make a favorable recommendation to City Council to add transient housing to the current residential zoning districts, SR 1, 2, 3, and UR, as a conditional use. And following with the zoning regulations, Article 5, Amendment, Section 5.05, the Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby forwarding the recommendation to grant the request to the City Council. City Council, per Section 5.06, must now take action. The minutes from the February 21st, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting regarding this issue have been attached. Sincerely, Steve Bowman. Members of council, at the February 21st, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the topic of fencing was discussed. New additions to the current zoning regulations were presented by Law Director Riemann. This was discussed during several regular sessions, and members unanimously approved a motion to make a favorable recommendation to City Council to add the proposed verbiage to the current fencing regulations. And following with the zoning regulations, Article 5, Amendment, Section 5.05, the Planning and Zoning Commission is hereby forwarding the recommendation to grant the request to City Council. City Council, per Section 5.06, must now take action. The minutes from the February 21st, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting regarding this issue have been attached. Sincerely, Steve Woolman. And then we also received the monthly reports of February from the Income Tax Department and the Street Department.
So both those zoning recommendations you want read 3 times, correct?
We just need to set a public hearing 30 days
Okay,
out.
okay, I got it.
So if you could set a public hearing for the second meeting in April.
Okay, we can do that for both of them.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, moving on. That completes everything. Call council.
Ely?
Okay, first off, I just want to say thank you to the fire chief for making that presentation. I saw that on Facebook and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. And when I got my agenda, I thought that's even more interesting. So thank you for that presentation. And, you know, like I said before, I think it's important that we work together. I know it seems like we're always trying to work together, and even though we're at a stalemate on an issue, that doesn't mean that we don't keep looking for things to do in our city to improve our city. Although I may not agree with the 55 and older housing, I do know that there is a need, and I spoke to Mike last week about some things. And if a city the size of Versailles, if a city the city of Union City is making progress in housing and doing those things, there's no reason that we can't look for a development, somebody to come in and develop the land in another way. So I just want us to keep an open mind about what development could come and how we could grow in another arena. And with that, I pass. And thank you for your indulgence.
Godwin?
I'd just like to thank all the department heads and people for coming up tonight. And with that, I will pass.
Norris?
Yes, thanks everybody for being here. Chief, we appreciate your presentation. And Chief, could you tell us the name of the firefighter that was just sworn in? We just swore a new firefighter last week. Mark Weissong. Okay, well, welcome him aboard as well. And with that, I'll pass.
Rogers?
Yes, I'd like to thank Chief Thompson and also Mike Bowers for their presentations, and so hopefully everything will work out good for both. Also, I've had several contacts by social media and personal about the amount of early birds laying out in the street, in the sidewalks, et cetera. And, it's kind of a catch-all type thing. I think what it is with the, and this is my assumption of it, and you know what that means whenever you assume. But anyway, we don't have the number of carriers that we probably should have. So whenever somebody does take on a route, maybe it's a walking route, but they're going along in their vehicles and just toss them. Well, that creates a problem. But yet they've taken on so many routes that they need to get them done, so they have to hurry to get them done. So, and also the fact of they just don't give a damn, period. And so then, it just creates a real problem for the looks of our city. And most people aren't picking them up. If I was an advertiser, which I was at one time, I'd say I'm not getting the coverage, so I'm not advertising. So, that's one thing to look at. We need to correct it, and people need to go out and pick up their early birds. I don't care if they throw them in the trash, just pick them up. Make the city look better. With that, I pass.
Schmidt,
I'll pass.
Whitaker,
First of all, I want to thank the chief for his presentation. One of the things that we look for as a citizen in our community, any community, is fire protection, and better training is going to enhance that tremendously and keep us safer and probably with faster response time in a little bit. Second of all, I had sent an email to Mary Ann Cable, the corporate head for AES, and was asking her about the door hangers and the advanced calls, and she said that she was going to be talking to the team lead in this area about that. She hasn't had that problem in other communities, but this particular community, she told me, has been overlooked. She's heard stories of that too. So she's going to be talking to the team lead about that. Also, I had asked her about the one-time opt-out fee, the rumors of where that money was going. Her email stated to me that the fees are intended to cover the costs associated with maintaining the procedures for reading and billing customers without the smart meters. There's evidently, that's the story, I got it right here. So I'm not sure what that is, but I wanted to get it from her side of the story, so I can at least present that as an answer to somebody who has another opinion. But also, I wanted to just say, and I wanted to give recognition to someone here. March 2023 has been proclaimed as Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And with that, I want to encourage everyone to be willing to assist anyone you run across throughout your day while they may be disabled, and help them with any situation they might have. Give them words of encouragement to empower them to live as normal a life as they feel as part of the community, and not feel like there's someone over here, someone special. They want to feel like they're one of us and living their lives in the normal way. One particular effort that they're making is working on arranging for adult-sized changing stations for those with any sort of disability. Cerebral palsy seems to be one of the main examples that they use, enabling them to be changed with a much lesser degree of difficulty in facilities like schools or any other institution that might, have an number of people that are disabled visiting them or whatever, but they want to bring that to the forefront. It would offer them much more privacy and a lot lesser degree of difficulty when they need to be changed. I mean, that's the fact of the matter, and they need to be considered, and that's what they're working on, is these changing stations. And with that, I want to congratulate someone I think a few of us might be aware of, Matt Harrison, an outstanding young man with a disability of his own, who's currently serving his second 3-year term to the Civil Ohio Development Disabilities Council. He was reappointed last July by Governor Mike DeWine. He's currently been made vice chair of the Leadership Development Committee. He's very active. He travels to Columbus quarterly, sits on various other committees where he bridges the communication and information between people with disabilities in their communities. And I just wanted to commend him for the job he's doing. He's an outstanding young man. He's always working. He's got 2 children, he and his wife, and they both work and work hard. And I think Matt deserves a recognition for that effort. So with that, I pass. Thank you.
Brown,
Pass.
President Baumgartner.
Yeah, a few things. So the mayor touched on Millie Moat's 100-year birthday. I think that's pretty awesome. So I'll say happy birthday, belated birthday to Millie. Ross, thanks for coming up. I think Dolores nailed it when she said you had to take a bite of that apple at a time to get it. So anything I can do to support, let me know and see if we can get that money raised. Mike Bowers, thanks for coming up. We talked the other day. I think it's great if you could come up every quarter, every 4 or 5 months, just to kind of give us an update of what's going on. I'm a big supporter. I know the council's a big supporter for economic development. So thank you. And the housing part, I think, is huge to look at that. Greg Billings, thanks for coming up. Visitors Bureau is one of them that we put money out to. I think it's great to come up. I know the president's been coming up, Jeff, I think, or Aaron. Yeah, Aaron's been coming up occasionally and talking. I think it's great. So I look forward to seeing the new downtown Greenville person. I know she's planning on coming to council and attending meetings. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adjourn. Call the roll.
Neely,
Yes.
Godwin,
Yes.
Norris,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yeah.
Brown.
Yes.
We were gonna have to.
Good evening, everyone.